Good day all. Are the Democrats in so much trouble because of Trump, or is it because of the incompetence of those elected to do the bidding of the people that elected them to the positions of representing them to government? It is unclear the reason for them being in trouble, but one thing is very clear: they are scared of Trump. But let us have a look back to the previous administrations that preceded the administration of Trump. Over the last couple of decades, politicians only knew the voters when they wanted to convince them that their promises, not policies, are the only way to go to save their country from the disaster that was the previous administration. As time went by, the promises became more elaborate, and even the candidates knew in their own minds that they would not be able to deliver on all these promises that they made to the electorate. Once the promises, no matter how unrealistic were not enough to ensure winning the highest office in the country, the candidates started smearing those that stood against them, and politics became a very dirty game to play. All this dirty playing led to some weird and wonderful accusations against some candidates that would never stand up in a legal court of law. As time went by, the tactics of the candidates just became more and more elaborate by the day. And then came Trump, the Republican candidate. Elaborate promises were made to those that were about to vote for the new resident of the White House. The Democratic candidate featured a little, and it is alleged that the Democratic Party even got involved in trying to smear the Republican candidate by enlisting the help from a foreign power to try and get dirt on the Trump campaign. Then in December of 2016, Trump was elected to become the new resident of the White House, and the Democrats were enraged that their candidate did not make the cut to the White House. So the Democrats activated their optional plan to get this businessman out of the White House by any means possible. We all watched and saw the circus that has been going on over the last 3 years. But why did the Democrats not act like their name indicate, embrace democracy? As this administration started to fulfill the campaign promises, one after another, the bar for the next administration has been lifted, and should the next successful candidate, after Trump, not deliver on the campaign promises, that individual will be finished in politics and made out to be a liar and a fool. But it is not only the fact that Trump delivers on the campaign promises that scare the Democratic Party. The mere fact that Trump appointed some people to look into the scams that the Democrats pulled while on the campaign trail expanded now to activities even before the 2016 campaign. It would seem that many of the previous administration's corrupt and criminal activities that they tried to hide so well, might just come to light, and there might just be prosecutions of the untouchables. Because the current administration is being run like a business, those that do try to steal from the company will lose their employment and even be prosecuted. This might be one of the reasons why the Democrats are pursuing impeachment of this president, because if they don't manage to remove him from office, their agenda for the country might be disrupted and delay the global narrative of Agendas 21 and Agenda 2030 of the United Nations. Globally, the governments play games with the lives of their citizens and try to make them poorer to ensure that the elite stay in power. But with the states being run like a business, every person that contribute to the welfare of the business can benefit from the success of the business. Under the current Trump administration, those countries like China that benefited over the years from unequal benefits on the trading arena, now need to pay their dues as the playing fields are being leveled and many of the unequal trade deals are falling one after the next. Trump is setting a kind of an example that all in the country can prosper, should the government be held responsible to the people that voted them into the positions that give them great power to help shape the future. Many claim that Trump is isolating the states from other countries because of the withdrawal from many agreements made in the past, but how many of you in business would actually implement those agreements in your business if you will be the loser in the end? If many of these countries want to play on the field, they need to improve their negotiating skills so that these deals benefit both parties and not one party over the next. The Democrats is now up in arms because President Trump instructed his personal lawyer to get involved with investigating issues. Because the Democrats cannot control what will come out of the investigation, they are running scared. But Mr. Rudy Giuliani is just doing what any good lawyer would do, and that is looking after the interests of his client. Would you employ legal counsel for your criminal trial if that counsel do nothing to investigate the allegations made against you and your business? Of course not, you will fire that legal counsel immediately and seek other legal counsel to investigate all angles that might affect the outcome of your case in your favor. In many criminal cases, other parties are investigated for their role that might have any influence on your case, so Mr. Trump's counsel is doing exactly what any other counsel would do to protect their client. Now, with this investigation into others that try to influence the case against President Trump, many other issues might come to light, like the possible extortion and corruption committed by members of the previous administrations. Then so be it. The Democrats do not want to see Mr. Rudy Giuliani succeed in defending his client, so they bend the rules to suit themselves in an effort to protect the party and its members. But in due course of time we will see the evidence that will be presented, not the fiction that the Democrats and CNN is punting, about the 2016 elections, and these facts might just spell the end of the Democratic Party and the end of the United Nations to implement their Agenda 21 and 2030 in the United States. We will just have to see what comes to light and judge for ourselves. Do not let the media decide for you, as they might be complicit in the narrative being punted by the globalists. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon. Remember to subscribe and leave your comments below.
What's your reaction to the fact that that this new prosecutor has been put in place and that he's going to reopen these cases, including Burisma?
Thank God. I mean, the fact is that this case was closed in October of 2016, right before the presidential election, by pressure from Joe Biden, bribe to Poroshenko. If they reopen it and they do a thorough investigation, it may lead right to the president of Ukraine, who allegedly may have been paid something for doing this. He was paid a lot for a lot of things, and they know that. They ran against him. But the reality is that this has to be investigated. And what Democrats have been doing for 2.5, 3 years is covering it up. And a lot of what they're doing with this impeachment thing is to cover up Biden. There's a couple of steps. Biden gets the prosecutor Shokin fired.
Right.
The new prosecutor comes in, and he does 3 corrupt things. He dismisses the Soros case. He dismisses the Biden case a couple months later, and he dismisses the Burisma case. The only thing I know Biden knew is that it was going to dismiss the Burisma case, but it had the effect of dismissing the other case as well. Frankly, I don't think Biden knew it, but I can't exclude it. It's never been investigated. But because he did it, maybe on purpose, maybe inadvertently, he cut off all kinds of evidence that would have explained the Steele dossier and made it probably impossible to ever have Mueller, because it would have been started to be revealed in 2016, and you would have seen Glenn Simpson, you would have seen some of the false stuff attributed to Russia. Remember, Steele was never in Russia. These people told me, how stupid are you people?
What we heard from Kurt Volker yesterday was that he has also been around a long time, spent a lot of time in Ukraine. He says that Joe Biden never did anything wrong.
He wouldn't know that.
He said, I'm just telling you what he said. This is an 8-page transcript that he just put out. Yeah, he said that he believed that you were being spun in the Ukraine, and that they were leading you to believe that there was, things going on that weren't going on, and that is what you ended up putting into this document envelope that we all just saw. Hold on, I let you talk. I just wanted to ask you this so that you can you can respond to it. And that he also wanted to he was concerned that some of what you were pursuing was going to make it look like Ukraine was not only involved in 2016, which I think everybody understands the desire to look into 2016, but that he didn't want it to appear in any way, if they started looking into Biden again, that the Ukraine was also trying to get involved in 2020. He was very concerned that there might be that confluence that would really reflect badly on this new government that wanted reform.
Well, Kurt never said that to me. Ever.
It's all in his transcript.
He never said it to me. I don't know what's in his transcript. He never said it to me. Now, here's why Kurt is wrong. Kurt, first of all, with all due respect, he's a great diplomat. He doesn't know anything about investigating. Doesn't know anything about crime. Kurt never investigated it.
Well, he's a diplomat.
But he never investigated
That's what he does.
If he had said that to me, the first thing I would ask him was, show me the investigation. Yeah. They never investigated it. They're taking the word of people who have an interest in covering it up, and they're not investigating it. I asked for only one thing from them. I don't ask for a result. I asked for an investigation. For 3 years, these very dramatic allegations of corruption have not been investigated. And I beg to differ about Biden being 2020. Biden did what he did from 2014 to 2016. He did it as vice president of the United States. Let's just say it's true. Then it's one of the major sellouts by a vice president in the history of our country. How can a president of the United States not want that investigated? Remember, this all started, and our desire to have it investigated goes back to November of 2018. It ended, my investigation ended in March of 2018. Go look at the documents. I investigated this for a sole purpose of defending Donald Trump.
I've heard you
I
say
wanted
that.
it investigated for the sole purpose of Donald Trump. And at the time that I did it, Martha, I got to finish the final thought, because it's one of the reasons why they're lying. At the time I began this investigation, and at the time I ended it, he was not a presidential candidate. In November of 2018, when the first year, but how did I know that in November of 2018?
No, I understand what you're saying.
And tell me why.
I'm just saying that the concern is that.
But no, but the concern is fraudulent. The concern is political spin. How would I say, as a lawyer, in 2018, that they're explaining to me how the crime that my client is being investigated for was committed by others, and the vice president of the United States committed a very big crime? I'm supposed to say, I'm not going to investigate that because Joe Biden is sitting at home thinking of running for the president of the United States 2 years later? Isn't that ridiculous?
I think it's a good point. I understand what you're saying.
The Democrats are covering up corruption, massive corruption.
But don't you understand?
Of course I understand it.
That people say, I understand completely that you want to look into, and Bill Barr wants to look into, and the president wants to look into the origins of the 2016 investigation.
And what about Joe Biden's corruption in 2016?
Okay, but that triggers something different.
Yes.
He is running for president against the current president, President Trump, and it triggers concern that what is being requested is a little bit of a dig to open this. Everybody knows that the Hunter Biden situation is very sensitive. It's something that was absolutely going to come up during the course of this investigation.
It's very corrupt. It's not sensitive.
Well, there are different elements to the Hunter Biden story. Okay, and you know that. All right,
you have to be naive not to think that.
All right, I've been saying I'm going to bring up these text messages. This is from July 25th. Kurt Volker.
I'm sorry, the date. I got it.
July 25.
I got involved.
July 25. Kurt Volker to Andre Yermak, who is associate of Zelensky. Right, exactly. Kurt Volker says, good lunch, thanks. Heard from White House, assuming President Zelensky convinces Trump he will investigate, get to the bottom of what happened in 2016, we will nail down a date for a visit in Washington. Good luck, see you tomorrow. So that's all.
That's very good.
You're happy with that?
Well, doesn't it say 2016?
This is, yes, absolutely.
It doesn't say 2020.
Then it goes on.
Martha, it doesn't say President Trump wants you to interfere in the 2020 election. It says President Trump wants you to investigate substantial allegations of federal crimes partially committed in Ukraine by high-level American officials. Exactly what an honest president should do, and exactly what Obama didn't do 5 years ago that could have stopped the whole thing.
One thing that you guys have absolutely succeeded in doing is pushing this to the forefront, and I think that it already is fleshing out this question. You should be delighted, as you said you are, because now the prosecutor is going to do another 15 minutes.
I'm going to tell you another thing.
15 cases.
I never investigated China for the very reason that you'd criticize me for investigating China, because you may think the link.
I didn't criticize you.
No, you would.
China.
I mean, they would. The media would criticize me. Look, I'm getting criticized for investigating a situation in which he put himself. I didn't go pay the bribe. I didn't know about Joe Biden when this information was given to me. I'm being criticized for investigating that. Imagine if I started investigating China. I know I could prove China.
Have you looked into China?
I have not investigated China.
Have you talked to people in China about Joe Biden?
So I convicted the commissioner of the mafia, 1,000 mafia members, Biden, Boski, 200 crooked politicians, Democrats and Republicans. Would you give me credit for having a nose for corruption and crime?
I absolutely give you credit for having a nose for corruption
and crime. I can smell it. Here's what I smell. China is a bigger sellout than Ukraine. I can't prove it. And the Democratic Party is scared out of their minds because this pay-for-play scheme doesn't just involve Biden. The big question that has to be asked is in 2015, when the New York Times first exposed the enormous conflict that Biden had in Ukraine and criticized him, how could you have your son taking money from a corrupt oligarch?
No, he was asked about it many times.
Why didn't Obama stop it? Any honest president would have stopped it.
There are indications that they were concerned in the Obama White House about it, that they talked to him about it several times.
But why didn't they stop it?
Didn't want to step in. Maybe they wish they had.
Because they have no sense of ethics.
Maybe they wish they had.
Let me ask you
something.
Is this very similar to Hillary and Clinton Foundation?
Let me just stay with this for one moment.
Is it similar to Hillary and Clinton Foundation?
Absolutely, there are parallels.
We're starting to see a pattern now?
Perhaps.
Is it possible if we break this open, we're going to find out the Obama administration might be one of the more corrupt administrations in a very long. Is it possible?
We'll see. I mean, we're going to follow.
And is it possible
that
Democrats? Is it possible that Democrats would cover that up and fight for their lives and have Schiff going out, violating laws in order to frame the president of the United States? And make no mistake about it, the president of the United States is extremely serious, and there are lawyers working on it right now about suing those guys directly, individually.
Yeah.
Not a joke, not a threat. It's a difficult legal endeavor, and we've got lawyers working on it as we speak. And thank you, Schiff, because you keep lying every day. He knew about the whistleblower, and he lied about it.
We've reported that. Let me ask you this. I guess a lot of people look at the situation from the State Department. Let me ask you a question. From the State Department to all of these diplomats who had a lot of experience in Ukraine and spent many years there, who feel very differently about the situation than you do. That they don't see under the rocks what you see under the rocks.
Well, maybe if they had seen under the rocks what I see under the rocks, it wouldn't be going on in Ukraine.
Maybe it wouldn't, and maybe you're going to fix it all.
Have they
and maybe you're going to fix it all.
I'm not going to say I'm going to fix it all. Maybe Donald Trump is going to fix it all, because he's a disruptive president who knows how to break up the swamp. Rudy Giuliani's not going to fix it. Donald Trump is going to fix it. And the reason he's president of the United States and they're just walking around with their suits on and haven't done a damn thing about corruption in Ukraine except to contribute to it. Do you know what they say in the Ukraine when we talk about corruption? They say, bull. You had Joe Biden pulling down millions.
I'm sure they do. I mean,
they think we're the biggest hypocrites. Don't you think an American president has to crack that open?
Let me ask you something.
And do you think he's going to crack it open with the very diplomats that couldn't find it in the first place?
Maybe President Trump is going to solve all of the corruption in the Ukraine.
No, he's not.
You just said he was.
He's got to solve the American corruption.
You said, I'm not going to do it. He's going to do it.
The American corruption has to be solved.
I was just repeating what you said. So a lot of people look at the situation and they say, what exactly are you doing in this situation? This is a State Department, we have an ambassadorial level that's involved in all of this. Why are you the president's personal attorney? What is your personal mission? What's your mission?
To disrupt the world. My mission is to defend my client in the best traditions of the legal profession.
So it's in the interest of your client to find out what happened with Joe Biden and Burisma, not the country.
Please, can we that's a mischaracterization, Martha.
Well, you tell me.
It's in the best interest of my client to unravel the corruption in the Ukraine, which involved mostly collusion in the election, into which Joe Biden inserted himself.
But isn't that what Bill Barr is doing? Isn't that his job?
Well, Bill Barr wasn't there when I was doing it.
What is different from your role and Bill Barr's role?
There was no Bill Barr when I did it.
What is the difference between what you're currently doing?
Did you hear what I just said? There was no Bill Barr.
You started before he did. I get it.
Bill Barr wasn't there. I started the investigation in November of 2018.
No, I understand all that.
I ended the investigation in March of 2018. Every fact that I have goes back to then. How could it possibly be to affect the 2020 election? How would I have known back then that he was going to run? And why would I have not investigated him if he was central to the whole story? And they gave it to me. I was going to say, no, take the Biden thing, put it aside, because the American press will attack me if I go after that.
Well, you know what? It's going to be very, I mean,
but I'm very discouraged that somebody has to
it.
re-examine why this wasn't stopped in 2015, because it could have been stopped
You're doing
then.
it. You're doing it.
If we had an honest president.